There's unfortunately no clear-cut answer to the question, is a strong dollar good for America or is a weak dollar good for America? A strong dollar certainly benefits some aspects of America. We import the vast majority of our goods in America, and so consumers certainly feel it when the dollar weakens in terms of rising prices. The U.S. has a massive current account deficit, and we depend on foreign investment, foreign capital flows into the U.S. To fund that deficit. So we need a strong and stable dollar to continue to encourage foreign investment into the U.S. It's also true that a weaker dollar helps corporate America by and large, especially larger companies that you report on in the S&P. So large companies tend to benefit. Small to medium-sized companies, where my firm operates, not so much. They prefer a stronger dollar.
Yeah, it can be tricky for the consumer, too. Just, Tom, I want to draw your attention to what's happening in the dollar right now. So even after the president just came out and said it's going to get stronger and stronger, we're barely in positive territory on the dollar index, which now I'm going to ask you, well, how weak is this thing?
It's pretty weak. I mean, it's been a substantial move, especially in the currency markets to start the year. And when you consider economic growth in the U.S. is as strong as it's been in years, we're expecting at least 3 Fed rate hikes. The fact that we're talking about an 88 handle on the dollar is a bit shocking, and it shows you just how much momentum there is in this market. Really what people need to focus on in the currency markets right now isn't so much what the U.S. is doing, even what the Treasury Secretary is doing. It's what the Bank of Japan and European Central Bank are doing, because the dollar is trading lower, euro and yen getting stronger on the anticipation of less accommodation from those central banks. That's the real driver of the dollar today.
I mean, Tom, we're at a 3-year low for the dollar index for the most part. Do you see it going much lower from here?
There's so much momentum in this market. I mean, you want to sell things making lower lows. So we could see a bit more of a decline. But at some point, fundamentals matter, right? I mean, we are still, it would appear, the fastest growing developed economy in the world. The Fed is more likely going to be more hawkish than less hawkish this year. So is there value in the dollar near these levels? I think over the longer term, yes.
Omar, how much do you expect political rhetoric to push the dollar around here relative to everything else?
Well, it's surprising how it's become such an issue again in the last couple of days. I mean, it's a little bit of a head scratcher to see the Treasury Secretary's comments and then the president kind of dialing those comments back a little bit. So I think perhaps we may see a little bit of a lull here. We saw a similar kind of effect around other global forums, whether it was at the UN or whether it was at the G10 last year. We saw this kind of protectionist rhetoric, this kind of America first, weaker dollar kind of rhetoric come to the forefront around those types of summits and gatherings as well. So I suspect if recent history is any kind of indication, we'll probably see a little bit of a lull here, and kind of agree with your other guests that we'll eventually see, probably sooner rather than later, economic fundamentals come back into the picture and ultimately, I think, provide a bit of a floor for the dollar.